Hi, I'm Sarah Jane. Thanks for joining me in my kitchen today. Part of being a healthy eater means being able to enjoy treats every now and then as a part of a healthy diet that is free from the extremes of restriction or binging and the guilt and pain that comes with those things. Believe me, I know. Before I became a registered dietitian, I had disordered eating, and I experienced both extremes, and neither was healthy, and I definitely wasn't happy. Now I enjoy all foods, and that means indulging in the things I really enjoy every now and then. One time of the year that definitely calls for some treats is Christmas time. One of my favorite Christmas memories growing up was that my Grandma Bradley would always have her made-from-scratch apple turnovers waiting on me when we arrived at her house for the holiday. These handheld treats featured a perfectly flaky crust filled with warm, fresh apples that had just the right amount of sweetness and tartness. Being at Grandma's house meant sitting down with one of those pies, sometimes even for breakfast, with a cold glass of milk and listening to one of my grandma's fabulous stories. She was a great storyteller, and we shared many a laugh and many an apple turnover around her table. So this Christmas, in my grandma's memory, I would like to share her fabulous apple turnover recipe with you. We'll start by making the crust. So I'm going to take 4 cups of all-purpose flour and sift it into the bowl here, and then as I'm sifting, I'm going to add a tablespoon of sugar and a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon, oh, didn't quite get it all, there we go, and a teaspoon of baking powder. And then we're just going to keep sifting until we get it all sifted into the bowl. Okay, so now we've got it all sifted into the bowl here. And next I'm going to add my shortening. I've got 1 3/4 cup here. And I'm just going to simply add that to my flour mixture. And then I'm going to take a fork and a knife and cut it into the flour mixture. And this is common in pastry recipes, and if you have a pastry cutter, you could use that as well. That might make the job even easier and faster. But the goal is just to get it into a crumbly texture. So now I'm going to combine my wet ingredients. I have 1 large egg that I've beaten pretty well here, and then I'm going to add a cup of water and just a teaspoon of regular white vinegar. And we get that all whisked together, and then we're going to add this to our flour mixture here. Just like so. And then we just get this mixed together well, and it'll start to form a dough. And then once it's formed a dough, we will wrap it in plastic wrap and put it in the fridge overnight. Let's work on our apple filling. I've simply peeled, cored, and sliced 6 apples. Grandma's recommendation for the best flavor and texture was to use Granny Smith or Gala apples, so I've got a mixture of the two. Now I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar to my apples, sprinkling them all evenly with the sugar. Just get it all in there, cover them nicely. This is going to help them caramelize and bring out a sweet flavor. And then you can sprinkle them with cinnamon, or in my case, I'm going to use some apple pie spice because that adds a really depth of flavor to it. So once I get those all covered nicely, and you can be liberal with the seasoning here because this is all we're doing to our apple filling. We're gonna just microwave them so that they become tender, and we're gonna microwave them on high in 5-minute increments, and we're gonna stir between each one. So I'll get these in the microwave. So now that our dough is ready, we're going to roll it out on a floured surface here. My rolling pin. Probably to about 1/4 of an inch thick or so. So we've got our dough rolled out here, and I am just going to brush it with a little egg wash. It's 1 egg, and it is mixed with a 1.5 teaspoons or so of water and beaten. And we're just gonna spread that all over the dough, and this helps the dough to get that nice golden brown color. Okay, so now I've got it all brushed with the egg wash, and I'm going to cut it into squares. And they don't have to be perfect, but you just want to cut them, try to cut them evenly. And I'm going to start up here and just cut this part off my dough, and then start to cut it into squares. So next I'm going to put about 1/4 cup of these wonderful cooked apples onto each square. And I'll kind of cheat it to one side of the square because we're going to fold them over, of course. So we want to leave plenty of room around the edges to do that. They smell so good. It smells like fall. So now I'm just gonna simply take one side and fold it over the other side, pressing the sides together on the edges. And then I'm gonna take a fork and I'm gonna press around the edges just to seal them up. So I've got them in the oven at 450 degrees for 17 to 22 minutes or until they're golden brown. And when they're done, it will smell like Christmas and they'll taste just like Grandma used to make. I'm Sarah Jane, wishing you a Merry Christmas from my kitchen to yours.